and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Now is a fool's errand. We know about the failure of the Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, our revolution, the failure of DSA. We have seen firsthand what happened to Bernie Sanders in the 2016 and 2020 primary. And to be very clear, he allowed himself to become a cuck by the Democratic establishment and allowed corporate media to smear him. But even now, we still have people trying to push us to vote blue, such as Cenk or Kyle Kalinske. But we also have candidates who are even running in the 2024 Democratic primary. Now, look, I understand that Marianne Williamson and RFK Jr. have every right to make their decisions. But at the end of the day, when you're running in the Democratic primary, it just tells me that you are sooner or later going to be absorbed into the Democratic establishment or tell us to vote for said Democratic establishment candidate like we saw in 2016 and 2020, what Bernie Sanders did, as well as everyone else did during the 2020 primary for Joe Biden. Recently, Marianne Williamson, who has yet to be on the ballot, who has not one, but went through 3 campaign staffers, campaign general managers to be more precise. Apologies for that stutter. She's on her 3rd one now, but also has staffers that are saying that it's an abusive environment and so much more. Had the big brain idea to try and act tough on the Jimmy Dore show. Shout out to Jimmy Dore, Chicago's very own. And when push comes to shove, when confronted with difficult questions, she tries to deflect, yell, or talk down. And that wasn't going to happen. These are highlights from the interview that Jimmy Dore had with Marianne Williamson. And as far as I am concerned, her campaign is one and done. Don't believe me? Well, here, let's pull up this first video segment. And I want to give a shout out to these 3 individuals. Compton J, Dirtbag Leftist, as well as Refuse to Conform. You wonderful individuals managed to get some clips of this interview. Now, these are only just certain clips and highlights. The full interview will be probably up on the Jimmy Dore show very soon, probably if not within today, then tomorrow or during the weekend. So please, if you're not subscribed to the Jimmy Dore show, please do so. But now let's get started. Let's get started with this first part right here. It's kind of interesting to see Marianne Williamson be confronted in regards to where she stands with this ridiculous war that's happening in Ukraine. And I'm going to keep on calling it ridiculous because the longer it continues to go on, the closer we are to the extinction of humanity. All what someone needs to do is push that shiny red button and there's nukes in the sky and mushroom clouds for everyone. But let's play this first video part.
What is your view on the Ukraine war?
Well, I certainly am not naive about how we got there. I certainly understand that the U.S. Poked the bear. I certainly understand about the Aegis missiles in Poland. I don't feel that I'm naive at all about how the U.S. war machine works.
So I'm trying to figure. So you're saying you support Joe Biden's policy in Ukraine?
What I don't support about Joe Biden's policy is when he says for as long as it takes. He and Lloyd Austin just talk about how we're just giving money for as long as it takes. We need to be in support of a negotiated settlement.
So
let's pause right here. We know firsthand that there is an ongoing war in Ukraine. And there's no real reason why it needs to continue on. There's no real reason why it has to persist. And unfortunately, the Democrats across the board, be they individuals like RFK or Marianne Williamson or Joe Biden or anyone serving in Congress, they're all more or less the same of, oh, what a shame that's happening, but we have to continue on. I find it interesting that we're able to crap out money for a war, but have nothing for the American people. Let's continue on with the rest of the video segment for all of you.
So you're aware that in 2014 that the CIA couped the Ukrainian government with the help of the right-wing Nazis. And then the people in the eastern part of Ukraine, in the Donbass, didn't want to go along with that couped government. And so Ukraine started shelling them. The government of Ukraine, the couped government started shelling them. And so they had the peace agreement called the Minsk Accords, which we now know that which was going to give the people in the Donbass, they would stop shelling them, and that they would give them some kind of independence because they were the Russian speakers in that country, in the east part. And so Ukraine never followed that peace agreement. And now we know, because Angela Merkel and others have revealed it, that they never intended on following that peace agreement, and they didn't, and they kept shelling those people in the Donbass. And when Putin invaded, it was to stop that shelling. So were you aware of that history?
I am aware of what you are saying. I am not enrolled in your interpretation of exactly what you are saying.
In other words, what she's saying, for all of you who are paying attention, is how dare you ask me this difficult question? How dare you put me on the spot by dropping historical facts and knowledge on me, and that I can't really give a real coherent answer because I have corporate donors and I also am associated with the Democratic establishment and people in Hollywood. And if I go up against the mainstream neoliberal narrative, I lose the ability to butter my bread. Because again, look, Marianne Williamson, all right, she rose into prominence thanks to the wonderful, incredible Oprah. And Oprah has connections to a lot of people in Hollywood, actors, actresses, producers, directors, all whom are vote blue, no matter who, liberal Democrats. She goes up against the narrative. She loses her ability to hobnob with the top 1%ers. Come on, folks. The game was rigged from the start.
I am not. I do.
So what do you disagree with?
I'll tell you the problem I have with it. I do not believe that Ukraine is nothing but a puppet of the United States.
Tell me what it's like to believe in Santa Claus, Bigfoot, the Tooth Fairy, Loch Ness Monster, Marianne. After all, she's writing her new book, The Mythical Jesus, or The Mythic Jesus, or whatever. God, that's a stupid name. Whatever their dumb book's name is.
You're adorable.
So we're not going to agree on that one.
So if we stop funding the Ukraine government, the Ukraine government shuts down. Do you know that? Do you know if we stop funding the Ukraine government shuts down, right? We're paying every person in the Ukraine government salary. We're paying their Social Security. You know that, right?
Isn't it interesting that we are paying for that? It's like almost Ukraine is like the 51st state. They get all that fancy stuff. You know, there's a video going around. And again, I'm hesitant to play it at all because there seems to be like a beach party happening in Kiev. And it's like, hey, why are y'all dancing it up? I understand, like, hey, you can't all be gloom and doom. But are you sure it's a wise idea to be having all this big party as there's a war happening in your country? I'm just saying. Boy, wouldn't it be great if, you know, we had a government that invested in the people, invested in our infrastructure, make sure people aren't homeless, Medicare for all, student debt forgiveness. You know? It would be nice, but I don't think we'll ever see it. Wouldn't it be nice?
Maybe you don't.
Let me ask you if you know, because I don't like being talked to like, do you know? So
I'm asking, do you know that?
Do you know what? I know. Listen, I'm not.
We know you don't like being talked to that way. Again, everyone who might be shocked at Marianne's behavior here. She acted this way to RBN. She acted this way to Marcel Dixon, who I interviewed, who's running for Congress. You know, you put her in the spot, she gets defensive. She starts to get flustered.
I'm not saying that everything is clean between the United States.
I'm asking you, did you know that?
I know that there are all kinds of business dealings.
So you don't know that? You didn't know that?
That there is money being paid to Ukraine.
That we are paying their entire government salary. You didn't know that? And that's how we could force a peace agreement tomorrow, is because we would just take back that money and their government collapse.
You're right.
Okay.
Oh, that was beautiful. Here, let's watch that again.
Tomorrow is because we would just take back that money and their government collapse.
You're right.
Okay.
That if we completely withdrew support from Ukraine, the government of Ukraine would collapse. I certainly understand that. The difference you and I have is that you seem.
Okay, now see, here's the thing. I wonder why Marianne Williamson didn't decide to snap at Jimmy when she snapped at Nick, because she snapped at Nick at RBN, Revolutionary Blackout Network, by saying that he was mansplaining to her. But yet Nick had his co-host, the wonderful, incredible Sabby, with him. And Nick was just asking her legitimate foreign policy questions, and she snapped at Nick. Marianne, Are you a hypocrite? Let's pull up this next video. Again, shout out to Dirtbag, Leftist, Refuse to Confirm, and Compton J. You guys are the real ones for clipping this video and at least posting it up here. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Of what you are saying. I am not enrolled in your interpretation of exactly what you are saying. I am not. I do.
So what do you disagree with?
I'll tell you the problem I have with it. I do not believe that Ukraine is nothing but a puppet of the United States.
You're adorable.
She's adorable and so fancy.
So we're not going to agree on that one.
So if we stop funding the Ukraine government, the Ukraine government shuts down. You know that? Do you know if we stop funding the Ukraine government shuts down, right? We're paying every person in the Ukraine government salary. We're paying their social security. You know that, right? Or maybe you don't.
Let me ask you if you know, because I don't like being talked to like, do you know? So
I'm asking, do you know that?
Do you know what I know? Listen, I'm not saying that everything is clean between the United States.
I'm asking you, did you know that?
I know that there are all kinds of business dealings.
So you don't know that? You didn't know that?
That there is money being paid to Ukraine.
That we are paying their entire government salary. You didn't know that? And that's how we could force a peace agreement tomorrow, is because we would just take back that money and their government collapse.
You're right.
Okay.
That if we completely withdrew support from Ukraine, the government of Ukraine would collapse. I certainly understand that. The difference you and I have is that you seem to think that would be a great thing. I don't. I don't think the Russians having complete control of Ukraine and getting their way in this situation is good for Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Finland, Sweden.
Wait for it, because Jimmy Dore is going to drop the truth on her. And look, this war could have been avoided. And again, I keep bringing this up because, look, the reason why this war could have been avoided is because, again, Russia was provoked, okay? And there was already some deal of a peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia. But this all got provoked because, let's face it, the Democrats and, yes, Republican lawmakers in the United States Senate and House, and no matter what presidential administration, are nothing but war profiteers. They're connected to Wall Street, big banks, corporations, the top 1%. And as those tanks were getting closer to the border in Ukraine before the war started in 2022, as there was a military buildup, what do you think our also fantastic lawmakers in the United States Senate and U.S. House of Representatives do? Did they call for an emergency session with Biden, call for an international call for diplomacy? That's option A, because, you know, supposedly these politicians are good people. Or option B, which was call up their brokers, people who run their accounts via third party, people who can handle, the financial assets and make a killing, literal killing in war profiteering. The answer will probably surprise you if you live under a rock, but the answer is option B. Go ahead and check out the Twitter account Unusual Whales, and you'll find out what your also fantastic politician, your favorite lawmaker, is doing on the side for further war profiteering and how rich they are.
Sweden, and I do not believe that that means there would be peace in Europe. There would be anything but peace in Europe.
So you're just another pro-war Democrat. You really don't have anything. You're not really against war. You're for this war and all the propaganda that goes along with it, because this was provoked by NATO. There's no point to even have NATO. I mean, this is really disappointing.
Now, if you think that's disappointing, shout out to Compton J for getting this clip right here. Because, again, not only is she a pro-war Democrat, as a lot of the Democrats are, because Marianne Williamson is acting like a pro-war Democrat, because, again, she knows not to go up against a neoliberal narrative. Marianne, what's your stance on a guy named Julian A?
All the propaganda that goes along with it, because this was provoked by NATO. There's no point to even have NATO. I mean, this is really disappointing.
Well,
this is just like your Julian Assange before. You're just as bad on this as you were on Julian Assange before. This is bad.
On Julian Assange before, I said I didn't know. I said I didn't know. And for years, I've been supporting Julian Assange. For years, I have been saying that I have gone to marches and I've visited with this Stella and I've walked around.
I like how Jimmy just looks at his phone. It's like, oh, geez, I can't believe I'm putting up with this. Jimmy, man, light one up after this, man.
I didn't know. I said I didn't know. And for years, I've been supporting Julian Assange. For years, I have been saying that I have gone to marches and I've visited with this Stella and I've walked around the Parliament building in London. I've definitely been in support of Julian Assange and for years.
Okay, well, good. Well, good. People know that. So now people know you're a staunch supporter of the Ukraine war effort. So,
it's funny when you say, well,
Let's pull up this next video here because, again, it's just interesting to see just how quick her whole facade is falling apart. And you could tell that she has a lot of anger issues. You know, it comes as no surprise why that one staffer who said, "I don't care if you sue me, Marianne Williamson, people you know who you are."
The NATO and the United States are using the people of Ukraine as cannon fodder to try to inflict economic damage on Russia. And
right.
so this isn't about liberating from Russia. This is about us
They
provoking.
were already a country. There was
This
nothing.
was-
We're not talking about the Donbass
so,
and Crimea.
so you can have this view if you want. It's odious.
It's interesting. So you think that the people of Ukraine and the way they've been fighting in this war are just doing that, just as puppets of the U.S. government? That kind of fighting, that kind of spirit, that kind of unbelievable fighting is
Wow.
only because they're puppets of the U.S. government?
Yes, we are. So if you don't know what's happening there, that's fine. But to say that we're not slaughtering those people for an economic war by the West on Russia just shows a naivete about the situation.
It's not only that. Let's pause it right here for a second because there's a little bit more to unpack here with that. It's not only that issue, is that we have a corporate media that takes the narrative from the two-party system in regards towards war profiteering. And this goes for all wars, all right? Because, again, I remember how upset and angry people were under the Bush-Cheney administration in 2001 when Bush and Cheney led us to Afghanistan and Iraq. In the aftermath of the Obama presidency, or during the Obama presidency, there was this promise of hope and change, shutting down Gitmo and getting us out of Afghanistan and Iraq, and that didn't happen. We went from 2 wars to 7. What did corporate media do? They were cheerleaders for it. We have a media and political establishment system that feeds off of forever war. How can we forget when Trump was president and he ordered missile strikes in Syria? You had MSNBC, CNN saying, look at Trump launch those big, beautiful missiles. He's finally a president now. He's finally a president. It didn't have to be this way. I want to pull up this video here now. Because, again, I've mentioned on the show how quick we are, how fast we are able to get money for war. But what about the working class? What about poor people? What about people who are struggling to make ends meet?
Right. We sent over $100 billion while there are people living under every bridge in America, and 80% of workers live paycheck to paycheck. How much money do you think we should have sent to Ukraine?
858. We have 858 billion that goes into our yearly defense budget. So the overspending by the military is a huge issue, of which Ukraine is a small part. And the fact that we are not funding the people of the United States and the actualization of their dreams is, to me, basically the reason I'm running. But I don't see that as dependent on whether or not we're spending money on Ukraine.
So $100 billion, which they say could end homelessness 4 times over in the United States. That's not a lot of money.
That's not the issue. The issue is that you could say that about any of the money that we spend on the $2 trillion tax cut that should be repealed, where 83 cents of every dollar went to the highest earners and the richest corporations. The billions of dollars we give in subsidies to corporations that are already making billions of dollars. Plus the fact.
So why do you think it is that we can, at the drop of a hat, send $100 billion to Ukraine?
I just wanted to pause there. Seriously, everyone, let's really ask ourselves that question. Why is it? Why is it that we're able to give money for war, have money for war, help bail out banks on Wall Street, but yet have nothing for the American people? Because we have criminals running the organization. We have spineless, dynastic, senile people, or either that opportunistic parasites who will replace the old guard and later on become the new guard. Thanks to our Supreme Court, where money is speech and corporations are people, anybody can buy a politician. And these politicians aren't thinking about your best interest. They're thinking about their political careers, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years down the road, and so on. We have politicians who want to enrich themselves and keep us divided. We have politicians who want to keep us under, not up. We have politicians that don't want us to think for ourselves. They want us to be smart enough to run the machines, but dumb enough to be complacent. This is why I tell people, don't vote Democrat and Republican. They don't have your best interests at heart. They don't like you. They don't think about you, and they will never respect you.
Most corrupt country in Europe, but we can't fund our own homelessness in America. Why do you think that is?
Because funding homelessness in America does not serve anybody's corporate bottom line.
And so this war is for corporate bottom line.
Definitely on this one, it is true that this happens to be making money for Northrop Grumman, Boeing, and
so it's not really about helping the people, because if it was about helping the people, we'd start here first, right?
No, actually, listen,
no,
Jimmy,
we start over in Ukraine.
Look, I'm just going to say this. We need to help out our own people, okay? There's a devastating fire that impacted the people of Hawaii. But guess what? We have environmental disasters all across this country. Flint, Michigan doesn't have safe, clean drinking water. People in southern states have crumbling infrastructure. Here in Chicago, we have lead in our drinking water. Plus, in Lake Michigan, we have industrial polluters polluting our lake. But this is something that's happening all over this country. Our country is falling apart. I don't care if you live in a red or blue state. I don't care about the color of your skin, who you worship, or what generation you're part of, or who the hell you voted for. Don't look me in the eye and tell me that everyone's doing okay. Hell, I keep saying this on the show, but every day I keep on being proven correct. It costs $300 just to go outside, my lovelies.
Well, you just sit here and you're going to...
I'm sorry I gave you a tough question. Now try to answer it.
Let's wait. I want to listen to that again.
About helping the people, because if it was about helping the people, we'd start here first, right?
No, actually, listen,
no,
Jimmy,
we start over in Ukraine.
Well, you just sit here and you're going to...
I'm sorry I gave you a tough question. Now try to answer it.
Not about that. I do not believe that if only we were not supporting Ukraine, all that money would then go to help the homeless in America.
Oh.
Larry in the live stream chat, she's an Oprah Democrat. One more time, by the way.
Start here first, right?
No, actually, listen,
no,
Jimmy,
we start over in Ukraine.
Well, you just sit here and you're going to...
I'm sorry I gave you a tough question. Now try to answer it.
Not about that. I do not believe that if only we were not supporting Ukraine, all that money would then go to help the homeless in America.
Well, why would?
Because that's how America.
So you're still,
you know that, Jimmy.
So okay. So you're the one who said the reason why we don't take that money and give it to homeless people is because of corporate corruption. And that's why we take the money and give it to corporations in the form of military aid to Ukraine. You're the one who just said that.
Listen, Marianne, just stop. You're getting decked. Woo. But hold on, it gets a little bit better because now Marianne starts to push back just a little bit. Shout out to Compton J for this video right here.
Because that's how America,
you're still,
you know that, Jimmy.
So okay. So you're the one who said the reason why we don't take that money and give it to homeless people is because of corporate corruption, and that's why we take the money and give it to corporations in the form of military aid to Ukraine. You're the one who just said that.
However, no.
So you're for corporate corruption in Ukraine before we fix homelessness.
Can I get in there? I mean,
yeah. Please stop pretending that I'm not letting you talk. Okay, stop doing that.
That is kind of funny.
You fix homelessness.
Can I get in there? I mean,
yeah. Please stop pretending that I'm not letting you talk. Okay, stop doing that.
No, will you stop? I don't.
Oh, somebody's a little spoiled. Someone's a little perturbed. One more time.
You're for corporate corruption in Ukraine before we fix homelessness.
Can I get in there? I mean,
yeah. Please stop pretending that I'm not letting you talk. Okay, stop doing that.
No, will you stop? I don't. You've always been an honorable interviewer with me before, and I'm being so right now. So quit pretending.
Yes, exactly. However,
the fact that there are some neocons.
Marianne, You owe Nick and RBN an apology. You owe Nick and RBN a whole apology, Marianne Williamson, as well as Marcel Dixon and anyone else that donated to your god-awful campaign. Hey, Vanguard Kyle, I think Marianne, she's out of steam in her engine.
With whom on this issue, I agree on some things. You could talk about Matt Gaetz. You would talk about Matt Gaetz and his views on Africa. I probably agree with him on military installations in Africa. We have 750 military installations around the world in 80 countries. One of the first things I do is unilaterally start closing some of.
No, you will not. Stop lying. You'll close them down. Marianne, your mask is coming off.
Those, but that doesn't mean I agree with Matt Gaetz on everything. There are conservatives sometimes who I would agree with on certain things, and that would be an example. That doesn't mean I agree with them on everything.
She owes Nick and RBN a huge apology. Just her attitude and just everything about it. But here's something that really needs to be brought up. And again, look, I understand why people want to reform the Democratic Party. I understand why people might think there's a way to take the party back. Listen, the Democratic Party is owned by corporations, okay? The game is rigged from the start. The DNC, Nico House, Convo Couch, everybody has done numerous reports about the Democratic Party and why it's a private institution. They've admitted it publicly. The game is rigged from the start. If you're not with the establishment will not pick you. Case in point, this right here. When she's asked, hey, why are you running the Democratic Party? Because again, you can't fix the Democratic Party. You just can't.
So tell me, so I said the same thing to RFK Jr. when he came on the show, because here they're not going to give you a debate, right? So they're not going to let you debate him, and then his allies brush off the call for a debate. And so what I told RFK Jr. was, you'd be better off running as a Republican, because Republicans don't have super delegates, and the reason why the Democrats have the super delegates is so someone like you can't win, and so you'll never win. And so why run inside the Democratic Party? Why not run outside the Democratic Party?
Well, the question, everything that you're saying is true. I mean, I don't know that last sentence, they'll never let. The issue is whether or not you could ever create a situation where they didn't have the choice.
I'm sorry you had to sit through that. That was the dumbest thing I ever heard in my entire life. Marianne, listen, let me mansplain it to you. Just to trigger Marianne. I better keep my head on a swivel just so I don't get a stapler thrown at me. But Marianne, the Democratic Party will never let you in. Remember what they did to you in 2020? Remember what they did to all the candidates in 2020? Remember what they did to Bernie in 2016? I mean, are you just dumb, stupid, or dumb? Seriously, Marianne. In what world do you think that somehow, out of the blue, the vote blue, no matter who in the establishment, will say, you're our gal, Marianne. Tell us what we need to do, Oprah's chosen one. So let's go ahead and pull up this final segment here, where Marianne Williamson defends everybody's favorite person, Fauci.
Did all this because they had mandates and they lied to us? And were there any of the lies that the establishment told? What were some of the lies that they told during COVID that made you the most angry?
I don't know about lies. What I know, my thought was that there were probably very, very good people who went to work every single day and were trying to absolutely do their best. But in this situation, as in pretty much every situation I have related to the US government, I have healthy skepticism. And I felt in that, as I feel in many others, that the pharmaceutical companies, when the pharmaceutical companies wouldn't even call back countries that were poor countries who were looking for the vaccine. And I was very concerned by the fact that there was so little conversation about treatment. In fact,
that 2020 pandemic really screwed with people's brains. Operation Warp Speed for that pandemic. But hey, how come we don't have Operation Warp Speed to cure cancer or HIV? Is that ever going to happen? We're going to get an Operation Warp Speed for that? Hello? Are we? Type 1, you think the establishment will finally say, yeah, Operation Warp Speed to cure cancer and HIV. All types of cancer, too. Type 2, man, no, man. No, Jack, what's wrong with you? You want them to cure all these ailments? Healthcare, what's wrong with you, kid? Come on, take your brain medicine.
Seemed to be such a suppression of any kind of treatment. You weren't even allowed to say vitamin C. So I didn't have a problem with the fact that a vaccine was being developed, but I did have a problem with the fact that there seemed to be vaccine only conversation that was going on.
So it didn't bother you that they lied when when Fauci lied about masks, or when he lied about natural immunity or herd immunity,
once
or when
again,
he lied about transmission or contraction? None of those lies bothered you?
So the proposition here is that is fact. I don't believe that Fauci is the Nazi war criminal, as one of my opponents practically says he is. I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know if he lied about masks?
Do you remember when Fauci went back and forth on the masks? Type 3 for yes, kid. I remember. And so does Petridge Farms. Type 4, like, no, man. I keep forgetting everything because I got to believe the corporate media.
I don't know what he knew.
Well, he admitted he lied about masks.
Let's listen to that.
Know what he knew.
Well, he admitted he lied about masks. That's why. So you don't even know that he admitted he lied about masks, because he admitted he lied about it.
He admitted that, yeah, but he didn't admit that he consciously, purposely.
No, he did.
lied.
He did. He admitted that he. Of course, he did. Of course, he admitted. He said he lied about it because they didn't have enough masks for hospital workers, so they had to lie so people wouldn't go out and buy them, and that's why that's called the noble lie. And so that's what I'm talking about. That's one thing he lied. He also admitted he lied about herd immunity and that he would change those numbers as he felt. So that's two. And CNN even exposed that lie. So those.
And when CNN does its job, you know things are bad for you. I still gotta laugh at CNN. They're hemorrhaging numbers. What a sight it would be to see a corporate media outlet go bankrupt and belly up. Only CNN can create a streaming service, and it goes done, one and done in like 1 month. Give me $250 million, coach, and I'll show you what I can do.
Those are two lies. And then, of course, you know that they said that if you took the vaccine, it would.
Well, hold on. We're not done yet. Hold up, because there's a part 2. And again, dirtbag leftists refuse to conform. Compton J, U2, U3. I forgot how to count. I stuttered on that one. U3 are the real ones. Let's pull up this one.
Natural immunity or herd immunity, or when he lied about transmission or contraction. None of those lies bothered you?
So the proposition here is that is fact. I don't believe that Fauci is the Nazi war criminal, as one of my opponents practically says he is. I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know if he lied about masks?
I don't know what he knew.
Well, he admitted he lied about masks. That's why. So you don't even know that he admitted he lied about masks, because he admitted he lied about it.
He admitted that, yeah, but he didn't admit that he consciously, purposely.
No, he did.
lied.
He did. He admitted that he. Of course, he did. Of course, he admitted. He said he lied about it because they didn't have enough masks for hospital workers, so they had to lie so people wouldn't go out and buy them, and that's why that's called the noble lie. And so that's what I'm talking about. That's one thing he lied. He also admitted he lied about herd immunity and that he would change those numbers as he felt. So that's two. And CNN even exposed that lie. So those are two lies. And then, of course, you know that they said that if you took the vaccine, it would stop the virus dead and stop the transmission. And you know they said that, and you know they lied when they were saying that, because Pfizer never even tested for that. And in the data, they all knew that. So they were saying that at a time. So these are the lies I'm talking about. You're not familiar with these lies?
I'm familiar.
She is familiar, but she knows not to step out of line. That's the truth about Marianne Williamson. She knows to keep quiet, very quiet.
Familiar with the controversy around it. Definitely. I am not enrolled in the way you are naming those things as though those were conscious lies that were spoken at the time in every instance. No, I'm not.
Well, Fauci admits to two of those lies. Do you know that? What about when he lied about gain of function, funding gain of function? He lied about that twice to Congress. And they also lied about where the virus came from. It came from a lab in Wuhan. And then if, we find out through the freedom of information.
And by the way, shout out to Garden Muse, because you're absolutely correct, Garden Muse. She's just trying to sell her books and promote herself. Hey, folks, let's have democracy in the chat. Was the Marianne Williamson campaign ever real? This might trigger the Vanguard and Kyle and everybody else. Type 5 for, yes, kid, it is real. We can reform the Democratic Party. Type 6. Type 666. If you know, nah, man. She's just there to promote herself and make herself look good. After all, she is a Oprah Democrat.
Requests, we find out that Fauci used his power of funding to get those scientists to lie and change, and then you were called a white supremacist if you said that the virus came from a lab. So you're not upset about that either?
Yes, I am, Jimmy.
Oh, whoa. Holy cow. Look at that face. I know I shouldn't judge or anything, but wow, that is an evil face.
About that either?
Yes, I am, Jimmy.
Oh, God. God, that's a real face. Look at that. Yes, I am, Jimmy. Yes, I am. Holy cow. That's going to give me nightmares. That's going to replace the whale in my nightmare.
Oh, good. Okay, that's good.
So, yes, I do believe it's from a lab. I always felt that it was from a lab.
All right. So those are some of the highlights. The full interview will be available on the Jimmy Dore Show, so please be sure to check it out. What can we take away from this? Well, obviously, look at the highlights of this interview. Marianne Williamson was never going to be a serious candidate. She doesn't have the charisma or charm of what Bernie Sanders had, or Tulsi Gabbard, or Andrew Yang. I mean, after all, she was a mediocre candidate in the 2020 Democratic primary, and she is a mediocre candidate even now. As soon as RFK Jr. entered the race, she lost all the winners sales. As soon as Dr. Cornel West declared he's running for a Green Party candidacy, she's one and done. When confronted with difficult questions, she gets angry. She starts fuming. But when she's in a safe area, like with Kyle or Crystal Ball or the Vanguard, everything's all polite and nice. You see who she is. But in all reality, let's be real. She's not on any ballots. She went through not one, but two other campaign general managers. She has her third one right now. She's hemorrhaging staffers. People are now telling everyone what it's like to really work for her, how abusive she is, and more importantly, it's just a way for her to promote her so fantastic book. So as far as I'm concerned, the Marianne Williamson campaign is out of steam, and she's just like any other Democrat, pro-war and corporatist. This isn't open for discussion. You run the Democratic Party, you run the Republican Party. The American people should view you as a corporatist and you serving the top 1%. Simple as that.